Welcome to Vintage Radio Cafe, your number one channel for relaxing vintage audio restoration. If you like watching an idiot wielding a soldering iron, you've come to the right place. Watch Ray's attempts to fix wonderful forgotten radios from another era, way before transistors. Sometimes he even gets them working again. What could go wrong, right?
Hello and welcome back. And what have I done? Well, I got another Grundig radio, a huge radio from Grundig from 1955, and the model of this one is the 4055 WF/3D. It has a complement of 9 tubes. It has 5 speakers. I'll show you. They are huge. I thought the Blowpunk 2540 was big, but this one is even bigger. It's almost 27 inches wide by 17 and a half, I believe, high, and a foot deep. This came up on Marketplace again, and if you haven't guessed it by now, well, I just love those radios. I'm falling in love with them more and more each time I work on a German radio. So this one came from actually a gentleman about an hour north of me, and I went to pick it up yesterday, and he inherited it from his father, who was a fighter pilot with the Canadian Armed Forces. He was posted in Germany from 55 to 58 or 59, he wasn't sure, and he bought it there. He actually bought a whole system, which included this nice, very nice wired remote for controlling the volume on and off, and all the presets of the tone shaping, from speech to orchestra, jazz, and all that. And it connects, like I said, with a wire to the back, using this huge connector. He also got the original matching tape recorder, which I'll show you in more details when I get to that part. I want to start with the radio first. And it came with this cute little microphone. Look at that. With its own stand. I thought it was brilliant. He also bought at the same time a RCA turntable. And once he came back, his brother, who was a cabinet maker, built him a custom cabinet. Very, very nice cabinet made of thick wood, no veneer. And the guy even took the time to when he did the door, to put a double jointed door so it would open up all the way. And he made those 2 sideless drawers to hold the recorder and the turntable. So everything was in one cabinet. The radio was sitting on top. At the moment, I put the small Grundig on it. It looks beautiful. I just dusted it off yesterday. It was finished with a nice old-fashioned oil varnish. And so that's about it for the provenance of the radio. I've seen, I have all the original documents and the original schematic, and there was not the bill, not the actual bill, but there was a price marked on one of the envelope for the radio that said $160. So if this is the price that he paid in 55, $160, I looked it up on the internet, it would mean $1,838 in today's money. So that was quite a lot of money. And those are considered, you can actually see this radio on the luxury radio website. Those were considered luxury radios. And I'm sure it's going to sound great, but just by the sheer size of the speakers. But, and this is my point. The seller was asking $300. And I'm telling you, For all that he had, the whole bundle that he was selling, $300 was more than reasonable. But there was one problem. And I passed on one of those, not the same one, another brand, last summer, because the band, the FM band, only goes to 100 megacycles. Here in my area, the national broadcaster is on 100.7, and that's where I listen to most of my classical music at night. They have really good shows. The sound is great. Not loud, but they tune fine. So I told him usually that's a showstopper for me, but because this radio is so nice, I would still like to buy it from you, but I cannot afford $300 for a radio that maybe I won't be able to use all that much. So I offered $175, and I remember I wrote, maybe $200 if you twist my arm real hard. Immediately he said, I'll do $175. I wanted to go to a good home, and I told him that I was restoring those and I wasn't reselling them, I'm not flipping them, and I was keeping them for my collection and doing videos to share my work and to maybe help somebody else that's doing the same radio and to learn. And he said, he was convinced, and he said $175. So I went and picked it up yesterday, and the condition is good, okay? Good to very good. There are some dings, scratches here and there. It's a bit dirty because it was kept in the garage, but I've seen much worse. And the only thing that bugs me is that the gold plating on the rim here, on the trim, is pretty worn out, and it's not a question of repolishing it. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that, or what I'm going to do with the general finish. All I know is just like the Blancpain, it's too nice to sand it down completely and refinish it and revarnish it. I don't have a wood shop, much less a paint booth. So whenever I have to do stuff like that, I work on my balcony. In winters at our door, it's going to be freezing in a week or two. Just after Halloween, usually we start getting, below zero temperatures. So that's why when I look for a radio, I try to, look at models that I won't have to do too much woodwork or refinishing on it. The electronics, I'm not afraid. I'm pretty sure I can get this one working. I'll show you in detail the faceplate, which is glass. It's perfect. I already tested the fuse, and the fuse was so corroded, so oxidized. I wasn't getting any continuity, so I cleaned it, I polished it, and still, although the filament is there, I think the corrosion went all the way inside to the wire. So no fuse, and I don't have that value, so I'll have to order that. I checked all the vacuum tubes. There's a complement of 9 tubes. The EM34, or I believe 35, is also usable as the tuning eye. That's also gone. And out of the 9 tubes, only 2 were maybe they could work. So all the other ones, 7 out of 9, were completely dead. So I'm going to change all the tubes, and I'm going to do a full recap, of course. Nobody can convince me a 68-year-old radio still have working electrolytics, but even the paper caps. So there is a wooden plate at the bottom, so you can access the bottom of the chassis. It won't be enough for me to work on it to the extent that I want to, but I'll show you, and I can see the parts. I can maybe even test the filter cap, the big, it's 1 can with 2 50s, I believe. Yeah, so I can probably check that, but I have no hope that they're going to be good. Even if the meter says they're good, I'm still going to change them. So let me just show you in more details the dial plate, and I'll show you some interesting features that I find on that radio. After that, we'll look at the inside. Okay, so we're back, and we're looking at the dial plate of the radio. So let's start with the two big buttons. You have the volume control with this knob and the control for the ferrite antenna for the AM. And I mean, they took the time to make this little compass here, this little dial. So when you're in this position, you know that the antenna is straight. If you go that way, number 8, it stops there and it means you're sideways. And same thing on the other side. At 0, you're on the other side. So I thought that was really nice. On this side, it's only 1. It's not 2. They're not independent, and it's for tuning in the stations. You have the usual selection here: off, tape recorder, turntable, long wave, medium wave, short wave, and 2 FM. And here you activate the ferrite antenna. From what I understand, what I've seen, there seems to be a bulb there. I see it on the schematic. There's a 6-volt bulb. There's 2 7 for the dial, for the whole dial. But there's one separate one here. That's even nicer. And why do we have 2 FM bands, you ask? Well, I asked the seller, beforehand when we started discussing, does the FM go to 100? Does it stop to 100 or does it go beyond that? And he answers back, which one? I thought that was funny. There's actually 1 FM band, okay? The tuner will pick up 1 FM, but what it has is there's a mechanism, there's a clutch inside that activates or deactivates a band like FM1 or FM2. So the way this works, if you go on FM1 and you tune in, I don't know, let's say 98, okay, you might not see it, but the pointer is there. I'm at 98. The other one is at somewhere like 96, but it doesn't move, right? If I activate FM2, then it moves. See, I'm at 96 here. You might not see it until I have lights working. I've already put 2 new lights, so when I do my first test, I know this should work. But so what I just did is pre-programmed on FM, or give a starting point to band 1 of 98 and a starting point of 96 on the other one. If I don't touch them, when I go to 1, FM1, 98 will be playing. And if I go to 2, 96 will be playing. Okay, so you guessed it, all those piano keys are really, really stiff. I think they're almost seized in their own grease or oil. So this will need a major cleanup in the back. I expect to have to repaint the back plate as well. And so moving on, here is the tuning, the magic eye. It should be right here. And to control your bass, your actual tone, you have to come here. Okay. Bass on one side and treble on the other side. No news there. But what I think is that if you want to change to orchestra and jazz and speech, you absolutely need to use the remote. That's why it's still so sought after all those years. And the seller told me that he saw one on eBay where the seller was asking for $800, and I can believe it. Not only is it a novelty, not only is it nice, but I think it's the only way to control your actual tone shaping bass, orchestra, speech, jazz, and so on. So I tried moving those, and you're surely not going to see it, but there's a middle point. Okay, there's a red dot on each side. This is the middle point, and here all the notes there should be a red plastic going on top, going through the musical notes to let you know where you are. I can see it's moving in the back, but that is also seized up, and I think it might have moved on its shaft, so it's not where where it's supposed to be. That's what I think. So that's it for the dial. Let me show you the a little bit more of the grill. And the grill, well, as always, when the speakers, move, they push air. So what you see, the dark circles, is just bad and dirty air that's been pushed through over the years. Again, this grill cloth is absolutely perfect. It's whole. It's there. So I'll try, and I bought a compressor with an air gun specifically for that job. I'll remove the speakers and I'll try to blow air through to get rid of most of the dirt there. And from that point on, I'll see what I'll do. I'm so tempted every time I do a radio to just wet it, and brush it with a little toothbrush or something and try to make it all clean. But I don't know. There's wood and glue behind that. So I'm always afraid the essence of the wood and the dirt, in the wood is going to seep through and come in dirty and stain the grill cloth. But we'll see. One last thing I want to show before I show you the inside is, we'll just move. Sorry for the movement, but you have to see this. The name grill cloth comes from those. Listen to this. This is metal. This is metal. There is some cloth at the back. So that cloth, if I can remove it at all, I might be able to clean it enough, because you don't really see it, And I can tell you on both sides, it's dented. You can see here, and I know why. Because when you want to move the radio, and I almost did it. I almost made it worse yesterday. When you move the radio, you're tempted to do this, to grab it like that. And look at the dent where the palm of my hand is. That's where it got dent. It's so heavy when you do that, you push the grill in. So that's a big no-no. You don't move it like that. So I'll show you the inside. It's very interesting. Let's go wide. Woo! I love wide angles. So let me show you. I think I'll start with the bottom. Give me a second. So here's the bottom side. So the radio is flipped on its back side, and I removed the wooden plate there, little board, and you see the inside, which is it's familiar. This sub chassis holds all the inductors there. I believe it's all for the FM, I believe. And let's go in closer. So you have the rectifier here, and no, it's not a capacitor, although it's in a cylindrical can. It's really the rectifier. And I don't know where the connections are for the actual electrolytics. Somewhere, I don't know on which side. And you have all the usual capacitors and resistors and all that. I didn't look at it really closely, so I'm not sure if there's something obvious, something that's burnt, whatever. The can is grounded here. And the flywheel here. I mean, it's twice as thick as what I've seen so far. And you see there's the clutch, at least 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 wheels there, plus the main shaft. So well, maybe you don't see it, but trust me, it's there. And let's look at the chassis. So okay, now you see the back plate, the back board, and it's in very good condition. It's not too warped, a little bit curved to one side. It's loose now. What I wanted to show you is, aside from the usual markings where everything goes, turntable and the recorder, and here is the cutaway for the big connector for the remote. This guy here, the actual power cord doesn't use at this point in time in 55. They didn't come up with the interlock yet, so it's much easier to remove the board like this. You don't have to drill out the rivets. Let me just put a little bit more light and use a flashlight with some vellum paper. Yeah, hopefully you see a little bit better. The selector for the proper voltage actually is just a board where you fit one fuse at the right spot, either here or like that, to get the 4 combinations of voltages. And you need to put the right, you look at the schematic and you put the right value. Easy enough. Now, from left to right, you see, have a better view of the big connector here. We have the FM can, which is actually accessible. You can actually, just remove 2 screws and go inside it if you have to change some capacitors, inductors, coils, or whatever. This is the main filter can right here. The 250s are there. Then you have, there's another one there, the IF and RF cans, and all your tubes. And I don't know if you can see this, but the transformer, it's not even rusted. I mean, it was dusty. I just dusted off the dust, but that's it. I didn't start cleaning. Your ferrite antenna, that's on its little tower and rotates. And you have the usual Grundig electrostatic tweeters, and this time around I've seen it done. I'm going to replace them with proper speakers. I think this radio deserves it. And for all you guys that want to keep everything original, well, just turn off the video. I don't know what to tell you. I'm going for safety first, efficiency right after that, and then I finish with the aesthetics. I try to keep everything as original as possible, but hey, if I remove this can and I break the tabs again, I'm just going to use a contact strip with components soldered to it. I hope I don't have to, but if worse comes to worse, I'll do it. I can already see the back dial plate is really yellow. I don't know if it was like that. It was probably off-white originally. And here is your 2 pilot lamps, and what you cannot see behind here is the third one that goes there. But what I want to really show you is the sheer size of those speakers. Okay, this big oval one, I'm not kidding you, it's almost a foot. Those the smaller ones, the side ones, they're 10 inches oval, 10 inches. I mean, the secondary ones, the side ones are bigger than the main speakers of most of the radios of that era, or maybe the 60s, 61, 62, all the way to 65. They stopped using big stuff like that. So the output transformer, you might not see it, is over here. There's a bunch of wires, resistors, capacitors, and so on and so forth. So let me show you a closer look of the exterior of the cabinet. But you get the idea, right? Here you got the selector for the antenna. So nothing really new. for me, except I have to get acquainted with that. And yeah, let me just move you and I'll show you the clutch system and the outside of the cabinet. Okay, so now I want to show you the movement of the what I call the clutch for the FM bands. Those two guys, you'll see them moving. So I'll move in front of the radio if I can and try to press the buttons. Pretty long reach for me. So there's one. And there's the other one. One and two. So they're very hard to press. So I'm wondering, there's a spring here, a spring there that compresses the movement. And I don't know if maybe the shaft is dry or it's the piano keys themselves that are really gummed up. And let me show you the other part. I think this switch is moving. Let me see if it's the case. If it's the right one. Yeah. Pressed, depressed, and the other one. So you can see the movement is, it's there, it's obvious, but it's not smooth. You can see all the dust there, and it's probably really crowded inside. So I can't wait to remove the chassis and clean that part. But that's basically the way this moves. So the clutch is here, and the switch array is underneath the tuner. All the switches, all the piano keys activate those switches. So okay, I'm going to end this by showing you the general condition of the cabinet. And you can still see the wood very good, but it's scratched, it's dirty. Some scratches I might be able to sand off lightly. And I'm thinking maybe I can put a coat of clear, spray can clear to refinish it maybe. I'm not sure, I'm just thinking out loud here. And what I mean by it's not a polishing issue. See, the gold plating is still there up to here, and then here it's on plastic. I don't think there's much I can do. You can see it's the color is more copper than anything else. I don't know. Maybe, but I think the gold plating is gone. And what do you do with that? You know, remove it and you send it somewhere. Although this part doesn't have black paint on it, but you know, and those trims, I mean, they're really thick, they're really heavy, but I think they're in good enough condition to be cleaned and polished back up. The worst things are here, and this one here. Although it's not deep, I don't feel it gouging in, but it's just the finish, top finish that's gone. Generally speaking, I just love the color, sort of a tobacco brown. It's a little bit darker for real. Camera doesn't do it justice really, but it's not a dark brown. It's not ebony or anything like that. So, okay, thank you for watching. Next time around, I should be I should have the chassis removed and have started on the cleaning of the cabinet, hopefully. So stay tuned. This is going to be a long series.